The double mug defense is everywhere right now. If you don't know how to beat it, you're going to keep losing games that you should be winning. Luckily for you, in this video, I'm giving you every single good adjustment in money play to be able to destroy this defense every single time you face it. I will warn you though, if you skip out on any of the tips I have for you in this video, it could be the reason you're still getting screamed at and still getting destroyed by mid blitz every single game. And I wouldn't want that to happen to you, so let's jump right into it. Alright, the first thing I want to break down against mid blitz is actually the best pass protection settings to use and when to use them. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so when we come into mid blitz here, what you're going to just notice is I'm just going to use one of these safeties. Obviously, if you send 5 out, right, they just have one more than you are blocking and they're just going to walk in free every time. Sometimes it's going to be the guy right up the middle, but really what you want to do is if you're going to 5 out, this is what you need to do. You need to make sure that you're an empty protection on. The reason why is because that's going to make sure that this man off the edge is the one that comes in free and not one of these, A-gap rushers here in the middle. He obviously is the furthest away from the quarterback, so it makes the most sense to let him come in free, all right? And so the reason why this is valuable is now what you can do is listen, you still have to, if you're going to send 5 out, right, and they run man coverage, you're still going to have to do a good job of getting rid of the ball quickly. So it's just one quick read, right? You see how that time it was actually the other man on the edge, but it really doesn't matter which edge guy they let come in clean. He's the furthest away from the quarterback, and so it makes the most sense to let him come in clean versus if you just leave like default protection on or sometimes even base protection, they let one of these like I said, middle linebackers right here come in free and they're the closest to the quarterback. So just switch it to empty protection, right? And this is only really when you're sending 5 out, like you're just kind of a gambler here and you want to test your luck here a little bit, but you can just see how it's like I'm just getting rid of the ball, right? And they're, especially if they're in man coverage, it's like you can do that. You can get rid of the ball really quickly with a drag and in route and out, really whatever it is, but just understand that if that guy probably doesn't beat man coverage, you're kind of going to be screwed as far as being able to get rid of the ball quickly. But also, this is something else that people do, is they're going to notice that you're blocking your running back now. Because now, if you use empty protection and you block your running back, what you're going to see is that running back is going to step up to block that man that comes in clean off the edge. And now you just see how we have more time to throw that pass. We're able to break that tackle and score. So that's great for you, but their counter is going to be, boom, I'm just going to move my user right here over the center to distract the offensive line, basically, to try to make this 7-on-6. But what you're going to do is you're still going to use empty protection, you're still going to block your running back, but now you're going to untarget this center. Boom, or excuse me, untarget this man right here, their user. So now what you're going to notice is that their user isn't going to be able to just affect your blocking in the same way that, I mean, you guys have definitely, if you played online at all this year, have seen this look from an opponent. And really, when you untarget this man, you're basically telling the game, hey, let him come in clean, which is exactly what you see happens where if he were to blitz, he would come in clean because a lot of the time, he's not going to blitz. All they're trying to do is distract your offensive line. So really, by untargeting their user defender, you now make it a whole lot easier for your line to do the same thing we did on the last play, pick up all 6 of these guys, with our 6 blockers and not let this man have an ill effect on our pass protection. So those are 2, quick pass protection adjustments. You're using empty protection when you're sending 5 out against this, just get rid of the ball quickly. But then if you want to block your running back, make sure that you're untargeting their user defender when they try to mug over at the top of that center. Alright, so both of those pass protection settings are fantastic, but let me show you the best and most foolproof way to block this and give you even more time in the pocket. And no surprise here, that is going to be just blocking your running back, all right? But like I said, you don't want to just block your running back because there's going to be times where you see like right here, this is a great example of that, where I blocked my running back right there and they let the A-gap rusher come in clean, right? You don't want that to happen. Now, the running back still step up to block him, but look at this. They let this guy come in right here, and so then he was just able to, punish the running back and sack the quarterback, versus what we really want is for one of our offensive linemen to block him, because as we know, the worst type of pressure to face and play against in this game is A-gap pressure, and so you don't want that to happen. So instead, what you're going to do is you're going to call you're going to use base protection. You're going to block your running back, but what you're going to do now is you're going to half slide away from the halfback. So you're going to half slide right here in this case, and then you're going to ID the defensive end on the halfback side. So now basically what you're telling your offensive line is, hey, everyone slide over. We're going to block all 5 of these guys, and then we're going to let this guy on the edge come in clean, and our running back is going to step up to block him. And that is going to be better for you because now you're not going to get A-gap pressure right in your face. So boom, take the snap. Still understanding though that, right, as you still have to get rid of the ball because your running back is now matched up against a defensive end. But now you don't have pressure right in your face immediately. You honestly have a pocket to, step up into and make quick reads. Now, especially when they run man coverage, right, you're still going to be really reliant on your guys to actually beat their man and get open. But when you half slide away from the halfback, you ID the defensive end on the halfback side. Now you're telling your offensive line again, hey, slide one over. We're going to let this edge guy come in clean every single time, and we're expecting for our running back to step up and block him. And now you see we have time to throw, and we're able to hit our tight end right there on the sideline. Now, another thing that makes this really, valuable and useful here is I think it happened right here. Yes, where he chop blocks him. He cuts out the legs of the guy. And this, if you see this animation, just know that you're now going to have all day. I honestly could have waited longer. Certainly we found a good read out there on the sideline. But it's like, boom, this is just beautiful where now you have all day to throw basically because your running back, cut out the legs of that guy. Not going to happen every single time. Half slide away, ID the defensive end on the halfback side. And you could also still combine that with the untarget, right? If they decide to move their guy right over here, you could, from the first segment, right, you could still just untarget that man, especially because he's not going to actually come in clean. But now we take it again, we just see Brian Thompson Jr. fries that guy, and then we're able to turn that into like a 15-yard gain down the field simply because we have the correct pass protection to be able to just, block the legs of this guy, boom, and get him, on the ground. And now everyone's in a one-on-one. We get our offensive linemen to block these linebackers, right? So you have linemen against linebackers, right? They're going to do a great job of holding their blocks, and we're just going to find guys open down the field. So really, it doesn't necessarily matter the formation that you're in. I'm in bunch X nasty, clearly right here, so I'm going to block my running back half slide right. But if my running back were on the other side, I actually think I can just motion him over. If I was over here, I would half slide to the left, and then I would ID the defensive end on this left side. So now it would pretty much just be the same thing on the other side. And so boom, take the snap, and you just notice how the pass protection is still going to be pristine, and we just have to find our man open down the field because we're letting that guy come in clean. Running back is going to step up to block him, and you're able to see how we now have all day to throw in the pocket. So really, that's how it block mid-blitz. Doesn't necessarily matter the formation that you're in. Just half slide away from the running back, ID the defensive end on the halfback side, and be ready to find guys open down the field. Alright, so if you found this breakdown of how to beat mid-blitz helpful here in Madden 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down Madden 26 tips and tricks for you guys every single day, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But if you want those first 2 tips to beat mid-blitz and the next 3 in written form to save on your phone during gameplay so you can follow along with this video and you never have to go surfing through any other pieces of content to be able to beat this defense, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join Madden University, where your first month of all my written breakdowns for the month of May are going to only be $1. It's really a no-brainer. It's going to transform the way you're able to win more games here in Madden 26, and I would hate for you to miss out on it. But let's jump right back into the video, because next I want to show you a trick that's going to make your RPOs way better here against this heavy blitz defense. Let me show you. Alright, so we're going to have them call mid-blitz. Our play here is going to be RPO zone alert. Or excuse me, motion RPO zone alert. And really, the key with this is making sure that you have your bunch on the wide side. The ball's not in the middle of the field. The ball's not on the short side. The reason why is because you want for this to happen, where, I mean, obviously a lot of people are going to shade inside, but what you're going to do is you're going to hot route this RPO. So you see how it started, right? We're going to reset it. This is how it starts. When you put RB on a streak, your B receiver on a flat, now what you're going to be able to do is get to the sideline way faster. You see how you throw that pass out there, and if you can get a really good rack animation, you're going to just be able to outflank that guy towards the sideline, right? Not every RPO can be hot routed, but you just see how this guy like shuffles his feet almost, because that's how RPOs get defended in this game. But when you just throw this pass out here, and kind of, we should have picked up so many yards if we got a better rack animation, but he's just going to be late to recognizing it. Also, you can freeform the pass as well to hopefully, you know, get a good rack animation and catch it in stride. But the bottom line here is this guy is going to be looking in the backfield a lot to try to defend these RPOs, and so that's really when it becomes the most dangerous to get that ball out there. Now, that time I tried to throw it, it really didn't let me. Maybe, and sometimes when you try to throw it too early, they don't actually let you throw it at all. But boom, we wait, and now we kind of keep getting a bad rack animation, which probably has a lot to do with Trevor Lawrence. I haven't been freeforming these passes just because freeform takes a little bit longer to actually throw. But boom, we see it. We got a perfect pass animation. But if you can get better rack animations, like the ball's out in front of him, you can catch it in stride, you're going to be able to turn that into a huge gain. But also if they run like zone coverage, for example, right? Because a lot of people, they run mid blitz, but then they're going to shift into like a cover two. It's still going to be really valuable in those situations, because now we understand that it's an RPO pass, and that's probably the best rack animation we get. It's an RPO pass, and so those guys are going to be looking into the backfield to stop the run when they're in zone coverage, and so you can just throw this pass out here to the flat, right? So if they decide to run man coverage, it's still going to work. It kind of just depends on the rack animation you get, if it's good or not, depending on the quarterback that you have. But when you have zone, it really does, when they run zone, it really doesn't matter how good the rack animation is. But also, like if they're shaded outside, right, you would think, hey, if they're shaded outside, I don't want to throw this, right? And like, yeah, you probably don't, right? Just because they're shaded outside. But instead, what you can do when they're shaded outside is actually bring him in motion. Just leave the play like this, don't hot route, because then you get Travis Hunter or your slot receiver in a one-on-one situation over there on the left side, so, or on the right side. So if they're shaded inside, right, you just call it like this, where you put them on the flat and you just call it, boom, or I tried to throw the ball. But even if you hand the ball off, whatever, the game doesn't let you, you can still just speed boost for huge gains in a touchdown like that. So that's an option, especially if they're shaded outside. But also, you know, if they're shaded outside, you can just bring this guy in motion and don't hire out anyone and just hope that he can beat his man at the top of the route. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But really hot routing your RPOs, again, you can't do this from every RPO, but the RPOs where you can hot route, especially like this one, just mixing up the look with the flat, the out, the motion, the handoff, and you're going to be able to destroy RPOs because a lot of time they're looking into the backfield. All right, before I jump to those final two tricks to be able to beat mid blitz every single play, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. Again, I'm the only one right now breaking down Madden 26 tips and tricks for you guys every single day, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But let's jump into those final two tricks. Which that next one is going to be the best passing concepts that you need to make sure you're using every single game against this mid blitz defense. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so we're going to come here into gun trips tight end, and this, or you can do this from really any formation, but I just like doing it from trips the most, okay? All you're doing is reading their coverage type. Right here, they're in off man. So against off man, you're looking to throw curl routes on them, okay? Really, this is any man coverage in general. This tip works, but obviously this is a beating mid blitz video, and mid blitz is man coverage a lot of times. So we're going to, if they're an off man, you're throwing curls. If they're in press man, you're going to utilize mesh concept. So right here, they're going to be in off man, so we're going to take this snap, and here's the key. You guys probably throw curls all the time, and the pass gets broken up, and I'm going to show you why that's the case. So we go call this play, we throw the curl, and that's a great example of it. That pass gets broken up because he drops the ball. You saw in the first play how I came back to the ball to undercut it and make sure that the defender wasn't able to basically, you know, knock the pass away. So we go with it again. I throw it, or I got screamed at there. But we call it again, we have pass protection, I throw it, and you're just seeing how I came back to the ball. By the time the defender touched me, and we're going to look at the replay, by the time the defender touched me, I had already brought the ball into my body, and it was already a secured catch. Boom, we throw it, come back to the ball like right here, just a step, and now by the time the defender touches me, I've already tucked his ball away. Like, you see, I've already tucked this ball away, and there's no chance that that's going to be an incompletion or a drop. And that's really the difference between you guys probably throwing curls and what I'm doing when I'm throwing the curls. So you have to throw it like on time, right? You have to throw it basically before he sits down. If you throw it like when he's already sitting down, then it's going to be impossible for you to come back to the ball. But when you throw it like a tick early, right, you get the timing down of the curl, you just can be able to throw this. Boom, easy. I mean, it's just going to be every single time. I'm basically never dropping curls in this game because I'm coming back to the ball. Here's the adjustment that they're going to make, though, is they're going to start pressing you. And when they start pressing you, that's when you start utilizing mesh concepts, because what you're going to notice here is that this route to this curl route, it can still beat press man. It's just it's not going to be as easy. So that's why I say you pivot to more of a mesh concept, right? Because he still has to beat his man. You just see how my drag's open over there, but my X receiver and his curl has to still beat his man press in order to even run the curl. So he doesn't have a free release, which is why it's harder to end up throwing. But you just pivot more to a mesh concept, because look at what happens here. We have a whole bunch of bumping, right? This man is in man coverage. He bumps into my tight end, and now that probably could have been a touchdown if I was looking for it, right? And so if they're going to run press, you take advantage of how press man is. The nature of it is there's a lot of bumping, right? You're also able to see how your tight end can normally just beat his man across the field. I would say the curl is the easier of the two, just because you have a free release. There's no chance anything bad happens as long as you throw the ball on time. But what you're going to see right here is we're just going to take this snap. This time we don't even need bumping, right? Because there's just so many times where drag routes, they still beat their man anyway, right? They still beat their man anyway, whether they have press or not, or they have bumping or not, right? But even if they run off man, for example, you can still utilize these mesh concepts. So you could have the curl and the mesh, right? So boom, you could look for them. Like, I would always throw the curl, basically, right, against off-man coverage. But if you wanted to, like, let's say they usered it, or they switched it, going to it, or they put a zone in that side, you can still look for your mesh concept. But bottom line here, if they're going to run off-man coverage, you're just going to take this snap, throw the curl on the break, and then come back to the ball, catch it. You're essentially never going to drop the ball. And if they switch it up and start running press man coverage, then you're going to change it up and just have two drags and really take advantage of the fact that right there, bumping occurs all the time in man coverage, and so you're just going to be able to turn those into big gains regardless of what defense they're in. Alright, and that last trick to be able to beat mid-blitz, and perhaps the easiest of anything I've shown you in this video, are the best run plays to torch this defense. Let me show you what those are. Alright, so this first one is going to be halfback off tackle here from bunch tight end. Alright, here's what you want to do. You want to make sure that there's always a flame icon over the head of this defender out here, because we're running to the other side. So what you're going to notice is if you can just seal the edge, right, you're just going to have a huge gain down the middle, and now you can speed boost. I mean, just one of the easier run plays. All you need really is for you, and that was the first time I've called this, no edits, right? We score a touchdown, and if you can just get your left tackle 72 or wherever's in that spot to not let Bradley Chubb here set the edge, you're going to be able to get out and turn this into a big gain, because a lot of the time your receivers do a great job, you know, as far as blocking down the field, and you're going to be able to turn that into, you know, a touchdown potentially. Now, obviously, not going to happen every time. You know, there's a lot of fluke in this game, but you're just noticing how pretty consistently, I mean, we're able to turn that into a big gain. We're able to speed boost away from those guys and turn it into a, you know, a huge run down the field, right? And so again, that's all it is. The reason why you want to untarget this guy, though, is because you're running to the other side, and now you allow for every one of your blockers to slide one blocker over, and you let this man come in clean. So we look at the replay right here, where you just notice how they just let this guy come in clean, but we're running away from him, right? So this allows for us to double team this defender, right? Or sometimes they'll slide one over and do a better job of like blocking maybe this safety, right? But honestly, the best part about this run is this defender, and this defender basically have no impact on the play. Like, this defender could get back in the play late if he sprints to the corner of the end zone, but it's like they basically only have 8 defenders in the field because they just were running the other way. And so it just comes down to winning those blocks on the edge and just being able to get out, right? And you're just able to see how, I mean, we're just able to outrun this defensive lineman by speed boosting a few times, and we're able to score. So halfback off tackle, they run mid blitz. Well, you need to call that all game, all the time, because it's really easy to get out to the edge. But then also you have this play, quarterback zone, here from Trips tight end. And the reason why this is so valuable is basically we're running to the right side. They only have 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders over here, right? And we have 5 blockers. We have 3 linemen, a tight end, and a running back. So all we're going to do is take this snap and run out here, right? And all we really need is for our guys to, pick up blocks, whether it's ETN blocking the safety. But what I will tell you is I've called this play a lot this year. I mean, that time he just gets absolutely destroyed. Sometimes the safety will just come down and have a horrible pursuit angle and a whiff. You're able to see how that's a great example of it, where I'm just able to, turn that into a big run because I just find that gap and I'm willing to cut back. And so it's like, the reason why you call this play is to be able to cut back and get to the lane. That's horrible run stick by me right there. But that lane is right there. It's wide open. It's going to be wide open all the time. That's a great example of what I'm talking about, where, that guy just takes a terrible pursuit angle. He goes all the way outside, way too wide. And so that just allows for us to just come right in behind him and, into this gap that our offensive line creates with a double team block, because we have +1 advantage. And so then we're just able to scamper down the field, juke that guy out, and turn that into a big run down the field. So, I mean, that's really what it is. The reason why you want to quick snap it, though, is so that their user can't run down here as fast as possible and basically make this, create a numbers advantage for them, or actually make it more even. Because, I mean, you can see how they do it right there. I mean, we're still able to juke that guy, then speed boost out of there for a big run. So it's like, even when they do tip the numbers kind of back even, it really doesn't have a huge effect on the overall effectiveness of the play. But we go with it again, how boom, you just see how that time kind of just bad run stick again. But that's why you want to quick snap it, because that guy was able to come in free that time simply because their user came further down. But we go with it, you're able to see just run through that gap, scamper down the field. The faster your quarterback, the better this is going to be. And again, quarterback zone, halfback off tackle, 2 really easy runs that you're just turning your brain off, and you're going to absolutely make mid blitz a nightmare to run for them on defense. Alright, so if you found any of those 5 tricks to be able to beat mid blitz here in Madden 26 helpful, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. Again, I break down Madden 26 tips and tricks that other creators won't talk about, and I do it every single day, so this is really the best channel for you to watch. But if you want all 5 of these tips in written form to save on your phone so you can always reference them and pull them up during gameplay, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join Madden University, where your first month is only going to be $1. You're going to get access to all my written breakdowns for the month of May and beyond, to save them on your phone with screenshots, with videos, everything. And if you want to see 5 tips to transform your defense here in Madden 26, check out this video. I'll see you over there. Peace.